Welcome to Confessions with the Cougar and the Cub. This is your host, Justin Vandeventer.
And I am the better half of this podcast, Carrie, the Cougar Lazarino.
This podcast, we are going to give you the male and female perspective on everyday issues and relationship problems.
And I'll give you the right answer from real ladies, just like myself, a true badass.
And I'll try to translate to you cavemen out there that don't quite understand women yet.
So let's dive in.
And enjoy this episode with the Cougar and the Cub. Welcome back to Confessions with the Cougar and the Cub. This is Justin Vandeventer, the Cub of this relationship, and with me is the better looking part of this podcast.
It's Carrie. How y'all been?
Hey, babe.
Hey. I love when you, I think I've said this before, but I love when you do our intro and you like legit do it like where you can't even breathe. Like how much can I say before my breath goes, blah, blah, blah. You know, it's so funny. You're so cute.
You know what I get? You know what people keep telling me?
What?
They go, I feel like you're doing a pause because you have to think about what podcast you're on.
Maybe. Yeah, because you're on that other one, the stupidest podcast that comes out every other Monday with that other guy, Roddy Rademacher.
Yeah. So we have another amazing interview. Yeah.
Yeah. We got so much great feedback from the podcast the episode that we had on with my little brother, Mark, about the California campfires from back in 2018, the fires that destroyed much of Paradise and Magalia. We had to have my other brother and my mom on. So yeah, we're kind of excited.
I definitely think we hit some new topics and all that in this one. And we added a few different questions.
Yep. Yeah.
So
yeah.
With that being said, should we get into this?
Yeah, let's get into it. Let's start the podcast.
Let's start the podcast. So here is the interview with your mom and brother.
Yeah, enjoy. Hey there. We're here talking with my mom, Carol, and my brother, Bryan. And we had so much good feedback. People were asking more and more about the campfires and experiences. So I thought it'd be great to have you guys on. So thanks for being a part of it.
Yeah, after talking with Mark.
Yeah.
We thought we'd bring you guys on and get another perspective.
Yeah. Thanks, Mom. Thanks,
Okay,
Ryan.
well, thanks for having us, guys.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah. So we're just going to dive in. So being that we have both of you guys on here, we're just going to start answering questions, and whoever wants to jump in. But what did the day look like for you? What did it start out like? Was it typical? And then you guys jump in. Mom or Bryan?
Oh, you want to go first?
Yeah, for me, it was just a next door neighbor came over, Danny, and knocked on my door and said there was a lot of smoke and I could see embers around. And I told him to wait there and I would run down and see if I could find out what was going on. So I went down to the hardware store, and that's where the fire department was sitting there. And I told them where I lived, and they said, well, you're not under evacuation. Go home, make some coffee, turn on the TV. And about 10 minutes later, everything went out, the power. It got really dark, and you could hear all this noise going on. And so I took my car, parked it in the middle of the parking out in the street, and set my alarm to wake people up. But the alarm, thinking it would wake up people, because I lived in a senior complex. And that was how my day started.
Wow. What time was that at? Sorry, I didn't mean to jump in. What time was that at?
It was close to 8 o'clock in the morning.
All right.
And by the time I got back from the hardware store, it might have been 8:10, 8:15. And when I got back, Danny was no longer there. But I got all the people on my street awake, and everybody was trying to figure out what to do. I started grabbing like my laptop and my cell phone and the chargers. And then I was going to go to the laundry and do wash because my washer was broken. So I closed in the car from that. And my neighbor across the street, her and I just worked on getting other people awake and trying to think, we had had evacuation notices several times before. So we figured we'd be gone for maybe an hour or two and be back. So I didn't pack anything,
Yeah.
And emptied out a couple of drawers and into a purse, and that was about it. Like I said.
Wow.
And, so it was chaotic.
Yeah.
And I was getting calls from you, Carrie,
Yep.
and telling me that needed to evacuate. before I'd even seen it on the news because I had no power.
Right.
And so I was sitting there going, no, we're not being evacuated. And then we were a few minutes later. But it took me about 2 hours to get everybody aroused and get their medications and whatever they had to take with them in their car before I got on the road. And then there was this elderly lady there who had no way out. So I took her with me for the day and until her family picked her up. Her family was in Oregon. And they got to Chico actually before I did.
So Chico and Oregon are roughly, just for the people listening, about 4 hours away. So what should have taken from Paradise to Chico about 20 minutes, it took you and anybody up there, 6 to 8 hours to get down the hill that day? Yeah. Yeah,
because they were closing so many roads and because of all the care facilities and hospitals or whatever, they were pushing them towards where we were.
Right.
And so we were, the only streets that were open was our area.
Right.
It was so smoky. You couldn't see. It looked like it was midnight. And you could see all the embers flying around. The streets were hot to stand on them.
Wow.
It was just, and then you could hear propane tanks exploding. And it was just awful.
And somewhere in there, Carol, you took a spill, didn't you?
Yeah, when I was trying to get somebody into their car, the guy across the street from me, he had dementia. His wife was fine. I tried getting him in the car, and I wrote a note telling him go to just this, a gas station or whatever, and tell him that what happened. And he pushed against me, and I fell between his deck and the railing, and bruised my arm. It was for like 5 or 6 weeks in a sling.
Because it went like pitch black, right? Like, I mean, it was in the morning, but then it went like pretty dark. It looked like it was nighttime by then.
Yeah.
Wow.
So the lady that I took with me, she was saying, well, that it's nighttime. I said, no, it's daytime, and we couldn't open our car windows or we couldn't turn the air on or anything because of being so smoky. And you couldn't see. I was just following some big truck, their marker lights in the back.
Wow.
I couldn't see anything else. Yeah. It was awful. You were bumper to bumper. And they eventually closed the road down where you could only go one way, only going down the hill for us. Mm-hmm. But it was still jam-packed with that many people trying to leave at the same time.
I mean, I can only imagine if you didn't have AC in your car.
That would have been...
Oh, I suppose. Wow. Yeah.
So I never...
Because of the smoke.
I never asked, because like you just said, you talked to the fire department guy, and he said you weren't getting evacuated. What was the cause of such a late notice of evacuation? Like, did the fire shift all of a sudden, or what caused it? Like last minute?
It did. It was. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Brian.
It was kind of the perfect storm that day. It had been a really dry year. It hadn't rained. We hadn't really got our first saturating rain like we usually did right around Halloween.
Yeah.
And, the defective PG&E equipment, caused the fire in the canyon. And, what did we have? 30, 40, 50 mile an hour winds that day that just blew it into Paradise within a few hours.
Wow.
And, of course, something moving that fast, that hot is going to create a weather system all its own.
Yeah.
So yeah, once it hit town, I mean, it blew through town and Paradise was gone in 4 or 5 hours?
Yeah.
Once it finally hit the ridge, and that was probably about noon or so, or just before noon when it actually blew through town. Am I correct in that? Because I personally wasn't on the hill when it started.
Yeah, what was your day like? Where were you at?
Where were you at? I had actually, my day started like any other day. I got up about 4:30, 5 o'clock, and I lived in Magalia at the time, which is, and I still live in Magalia now, but just above Paradise. So I'm about 40 to 50 minutes away from work, give or take. And I work in Corning, California, which, like I said, is about 45 miles north of Paradise. Mm-hmm. Anyway, this normal day, I got to work, started doing my daily duties, and probably around 7:30, close to 8 o'clock, my coworker, who also lives here up on the ridge, got a call from his son saying that there was they were possibly thinking about evacuating the east side of Paradise by the Feather River Canyon. So he ended up leaving for work. I collected the daily samples that I had to take in. And, I called my son Dustin, and he was living in Paradise with his family at the time. And he was getting ready to head up to Magalia to do a job. So I asked him about it. He goes, I don't think it's really a big deal. I'm going to go ahead and go to work, Dad. So, okay. So I went ahead and went back to work. Didn't think much of it. Of course, I was a little bit concerned about it, but we had been through this, before living up here in this area. So finally I get a call back from him probably, I don't know, about just before 8 o'clock. And he said he was headed up to Magalia and that traffic was stopped. And there was nobody coming down in the southbound lane. Traffic was backed up. And then he hung up the phone, and maybe about 10 or 15 minutes later, he called me back, and I can kind of hear the panic in his voice, So he stopped in traffic. The fire's coming up the canyon, and he's telling me, Dad, I think I may have to, get out and hoof it from here and just leave the truck. And I told him, you do what you got to do. So I collected everything I needed, and, I headed home.
So you were able to get home? Or I thought
no. I said I headed home. I never made it up the Skyway.
Okay.
I got stopped at the bottom of the Skyway in Chico.
Yeah.
Of course, that they had barriers up. The cops were all there, not letting anybody up.
Right.
So at that time, I'm talking with my son, trying to get a hold of everybody I can to see how everybody's doing, seeing if everybody's getting out, trying texting, calling, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And when I spoke with Dustin, like I said, he was a little bit frantic. But he ended up being able to get out of traffic. Some emergency vehicles came down from Magalia in the southbound lane as he was heading up in the northbound lane. So he made a quick decision to go ahead and turn around and follow those emergency vehicles down. Mm. So he got down, probably just beyond Fast Trip from where he is. So probably, a mile and a half or so. And so, like I said, I was at Lower Skyway at that point, and of course, I looked just to the southeast of Paradise, and there was a very large plume of smoke. Mm. And so I had to basically, get a drink, make a quick decision there. So since I couldn't get up the hill, I decided to go ahead and look for a hotel room, which were filling up obviously very fast.
Wow. You knew that was, because like we said, this has happened before where there's been evacuation notices, but you were like, this is different. Like you knew it was different, that this is like shit's at the fan type of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Once I seen that plume of smoke there, they weren't letting anybody up. It was serious. And I could tell, by the kind of not really the panic, but the urgency in my son's voice.
Yeah.
And then, during that whole time, I found out that, and I'm not even sure, when we were, did we even speak at that time, Carol, or did we text, or I can't even remember.
I think I had talked to you and you were still trying to connect with everybody.
Okay. Cause I remember at some point I couldn't remember if we actually spoke verbally or if we, just texted each other, but.
I don't remember either.
There was so much going on. And, after I spoke with my son, I got a hold of my daughter-in-law. She had gotten her mother and her aunt and her daughter. They were on their way out of town. But my grandson, Talon, he was still at school. So he was kind of MIA at the time.
Oh, my gosh.
So I'm thinking that I can get up the hill, before I was stopped there where they had the road, blocked off. Yeah. That maybe I can get up the hill because his school was in Lower Paradise. Maybe I could get up there and get him if nobody else would.
Is there anybody, I hate to interrupt, but was there anybody that's telling you guys like what's going on with like the school? Cause I cannot even imagine if I'm wherever at and you're like, how the hell is my kid getting home? Was there any kind of or were you guys able to get any kind of like news or radio? Like how do people know what they're doing with their kids?
I had no radio service.
Radio. Okay.
No. And your cell phone was sporadic. I was getting calls from all kinds of people.
Yeah, we were calling you. Okay, so you guys didn't know. So if you're in that situation where, say, you're in a different town, you're at work, and you're like, how the hell am I going to get my kid? What's protocol? There's no protocol here.
Yeah, and obviously, the events for me were much different than, say, the events for Carol or people that had to escape this situation,
Right.
I was already out of harm's way, but, just the thought of, is everybody okay? Is everybody getting out all right? Was what's going on up there. And then, back to my grandson, I was able to talk to my daughter-in-law briefly and then talk to my son. And Talon's mother, his biological mother, was able to get to the school and pick him up and get him out of town as well.
Right.
So like I said, at that point, it was just, there was really nothing I could do as far as, helping anybody get out of town. So I had to make sure to find at least some shelter for the night,
That was smart. Like, I was already living in Minnesota at the time, and had been here, I think, about a year. And I was watching it like on Facebook, and it was so scary. Like, I had all my kids calling my mom, and it would ring through, and then I'd be like, "Are you okay?" And then she'd quick say something, then like it would just go dead. And I was like, I didn't know. It was just super scary from this end too, like not knowing, and then I think they were showing maybe some of it on the news or at least on Facebook. I'm not really sure, but, yeah, it was freaking scary. I can't imagine. I guess we totally forgot to ask this too, like how long we should let people like kind of know how long had you guys been in the area prior? Like, cause I know, we had moved up to like Paradise Chico, like in the late 90s and stuff. At least for myself. Mom, Brian, how long have you guys been up in the area?
Go ahead, Carol.
I moved up here in 94.
Okay.
Yeah, I moved up here in late 97.
Okay. All right, cool. That was one thing I think we were supposed to ask, but good. Yeah.
All right. Just curious, did you guys know anybody that didn't want to leave or stay with their property and stay with their belongings?
I had several people who didn't want to leave, they were elderly people, and they just wanted to stay with their place, but you tried to let them know you can come back. We're not, it happens to us all the time, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
And then you just try to stay calm. And I was surprised I stayed calm the whole day. I'm usually very nervous and stuff, but I was not. I mean, I just had to be calm. I had Mark all upset, and, Don's son calling me. Tyler, he was all upset. Nobody could get a hold of it. Anybody.
Well, and your place went up like relatively fast, right? You guys were like the first, like it's like nothing left and happened right away, right? So had any of your neighbors stayed, they would have died probably, right? There was nothing left in your area. Yeah.
Yeah, I know a gentleman, an elderly gentleman that used to come into the gym I used to work at in Paradise. Mm-hmm. And, he ended up staying home, and I want to say he was, in his probably mid to late 80s. Yeah, he stayed in his home and he died.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Yeah, he died in the fire. And then, my granddaughter's biological dad, lived with some friends of his in probably mid Paradise, and they ended up staying through the whole thing and saving their house, which, if you ask me, wasn't very smart, but, they made that choice. And they ended up saving the house. So,
right.
Crazy.
Man, I can't even imagine that. Sheesh.
Our whole area was gone in just a matter of, a few hours, I'm sure.
Yeah, and I think one of you mentioned, I don't remember who it was, PG&E, like for people that are listening and they don't know really California, that's our Pacific Gas and Electric, and they have since said that, yes, they were responsible for the fire. Was there something, were they supposed to turn off the power, but then because the pine needles, like, So
before you get into this,
yep.
PG&E, that's the big company that Aaron Brockovich was going after in the movie, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So
Correct.
if you guys ever seen Aaron Brockovich,
yes,
for our listeners,
yes,
that's what that whole movie was based on, was that lawsuit with these guys.
Yes.
With our attorney group.
Yeah. So did they accepted fault, but were they supposed to turn off the power? They didn't, and then is that what happened, or any?
They were supposed to replace a part.
Oh,
yes.
Several years earlier, they'd been told about the part was bad.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody replaced the part, and then when the guy saw it in the morning that that was what happened, he should have notified PG&E to cut all power, and he didn't.
Wow.
And that's as far as I know. I'm not 100% sure, but I talked to several PG&E guys that stayed at the hotel we stayed at after the fire, and they kind of let us know. They knew they were all in deep doo-doo,
Oh, yeah, no doubt about it. And so I guess it was some sort of faulty hook or fastener. A holding up one of their lines, and it was certainly a very inaccessible part of the canyon there.
Right.
But that equipment was, what was it, Carol? Something like close to or over 100 years old in that area.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Something ridiculous like that PG&E just neglected, because over the years, what were they doing? They were taking care of their major stockholders and their executives so that they could retire with golden parachutes. You know what I mean? I mean, why spend money? It's like if nothing has really happened to this point, I guess they didn't feel the need to take care of their equipment.
Wow.
Well, and I remember too, I don't know if who was our president or whatever, but I remember hearing on the news them saying, well, if the Paradisians, whatever, the people of that area, if they would have been clearing out the brush and done their part. But if people are listening, and if you've ever seen any kind of footage of Paradise Magalia, it is like a forest. I mean,
it wouldn't have mattered. That fire, like I said, it was a perfect storm. It blew through here so hot and so fast. Yeah. That wouldn't have mattered. Now, if we would have taken, say, excuse me, the Department of Forestry or Department of Land Management or whoever had taken the time, the money, and the effort to clear out defensible space around the town, that may have helped. I'm not sure, because that fire was burning so fast, so hot, and it was jumping, the embers were burning. It was jumping the tops of these trees. In fact, I had a friend that lived over by the canyon where it started, and he said that he was in his yard outside of his house. He said he could hear it. He said it sounded like a freight train. It literally sounded like a freight train coming.
That's crazy.
It did. Yeah.
You heard that, Mom?
So loud.
I mean, you heard that,
it was just loud that day. Everything you were hearing, all these explosions. I'm sitting there going, "What's all these explosions?" Because we didn't have propane. We had natural gas where I lived.
Yeah.
But I could hear all this stuff, and then somebody, told me, "Oh, it's propane tanks. Some people have propane." And I thought, okay.
Wow.
And it was so loud. I mean, luckily we didn't have any car accidents in the way I went or anything.
Yeah.
People weren't rude or nothing. I mean, people were helping each other.
Did you see people running or out of their cars, or were people in the cars? I mean, I heard people saw people burning. I mean, I heard about the fire truck. You didn't see? Okay.
I didn't see any of that.
That's good.
I saw a lot of people, getting out of their car and trying to stretch, because you're sitting there from 10 o'clock until I think we got to Chico about 5:30.
Oh my God.
And so you're trying to, just stretch, and the ground was so hot you couldn't stand, and talk about having to go to the bathroom so bad.
Right.
I'd just be like, let it go.
That was going to
be... Can I chime in here for a second and ask Carol something?
Yep.
Uh-huh.
Hey, Carol, so when you finally got out of town, out of harm's way, did you know that everybody else was accounted for? All of your loved ones?
No. What we did is, once I got to Chico, and when we're starting down the hill, when we started moving with traffic, it fired guys. I couldn't see anybody, but I could see their water was shooting at my car and stuff, both sides. And they were just yelling to go faster. And then they wanted me to go towards Orville. And I thought, no, I know the back way to Chico. I'll go through Durham, which roads were crowded that way too. Then we all decided to meet up at Walmart. And that's where Mark, Stacy, and the kids, and the lady that was with me and her family, we met at Walmart.
Yeah.
Because by then, my phone had gone dead, and I had to go in and buy a charger because I loaned mine to the lady across the street where I was living and stuff. So, everybody just met at Walmart, and then we started searching for hotels once we got in there.
Right.
What was so you said the ground was so hot and all that. Well, just so the listeners can kind of understand, what was the air quality like? Was it tough to breathe and all that? And could you feel the heat of the fire?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and everybody kept saying it was so cold and stuff. And I had no jacket on. I didn't feel the wind or anything. And I'm cold-blooded, so I've got the heater on all the time. But I didn't feel being cold at all, and you couldn't breathe. You were constantly putting your T-shirt or jacket or whatever shirt over your face.
Was it still
You could not
dark by the
breathe.
time you guys got to Chico and everybody is like, I think you had said that everybody met like either at Walmart or at the hotel. Was it smoky for all of you, for you guys? And was it like dark still, or what was the quality like?
Still dark. Yeah.
Still
Everybody
dark.
met at Walmart.
Mhm.
And since the lady she hadn't eaten, so I took her into Subway and got her a sandwich. And her daughter said, well, can't you bring her to the church where I'm at? And I said, I brought her all the way here. You come over here and get her,
Yeah, that's
She's sitting here eating a sandwich, And so anyway, that's what they did. And then, we started searching for hotels, and that was tough because other people had all day that they were down there getting the hotel rooms. And we were, your friend Frank was supposed to get us some, and he couldn't get any
Yep.
room.
Yep.
But Stacy and I were going to different hotels there, and right when we were standing there was a cancellation, so the hotel got us in there.
oh.
And Brian, were you at the same hotel or?
No. I actually found a hotel over on the Esplanade called the Safari Inn.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I was able to secure a suite. So, I think at one point we had about probably 8 to 10 people in there.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
my gosh.
And another scary thing too was, with these people, it's like, if you're trying to get out of there, and what if you don't have enough gas in your vehicle?
Oh my God. I can't even imagine.
What if you don't have a charge? Like with my son, he didn't have a charger for his phone. And I kept, of course, trying to call him to find out what was going on. And he had to finally tell me, Dad, my phone's almost dead. I need to save this juice. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
so all that was definitely, obviously not as scary as for everybody else that had to escape the fire.
Well,
But
we
still,
read
just that, as you know, Carrie, just that unknown, of
Right.
not knowing.
and over like
know?
50,000, I think, fled. And I mean, yes, there was the nursing homes and all like, the retirement homes, but there's also hospitals. So, I mean,
Right.
I can't even imagine like people giving birth or say you were going to have surgery, say you were under the knife. I mean, yeah, pretty crazy.
I didn't even hear from my mother until 6:30, 7 o'clock that night.
Wow.
So, well after, the fire had destroyed the town of Paradise and some of the Magalia area as well. So,
Yeah.
And in fact, the only reason, the only way I knew that she was okay
Mhm.
was I got a message from my niece, my sister's daughter, that, she had said grandma's okay. She got out, she got her dogs. Last she had heard, she was, at a parking lot across the street from Fast Trip.
Mm.
And so, yeah, like I said, I didn't even know that she was safe and out till about 6:30, 7 o'clock that night.
Wow. And I know, we already talked to my mom about her house and all her neighbors' homes being destroyed, but Brian, your house was destroyed, right?
Yeah, the house I was renting in Magalia at the time, was completely destroyed.
What about your neighbors? Like that whole neighborhood?
Well, that whole neighborhood was gone.
It was gone.
Yeah.
Okay. Because when I've gone up there, like we were just out there a couple of weeks ago, it's so weird. You see like a house that was burnt and then you see a couple houses that are fine. And then it's so weird how like hop, skip and jump. So your whole neighborhood was destroyed.
Yeah, totally.
All right.
Well, the firefighters were up there, and the house that I bought shortly after the fire in Magalia
Mhm.
was a little area where it was the same way.
Yeah.
Where you have some blocks that are burnt down,
Mhm.
some that have just every other house or every two or three houses that were burnt down.
Mhm.
And when we bought this house, the fence out back was laying down. The firefighters had to kick it down in order to try to save this neighborhood.
Mm.
So, and luckily, I was able to secure this place about, 3 months after the fire.
Yeah. Well, I know they were supposed to not be jacking up prices. That was another thing I think they started doing.
They totally did.
Oh, yeah.
They totally did.
Yeah. They were. Yeah.
Never let a good disaster go to waste.
Yeah.
Right.
Jeez.
Milk every penny they can.
To get a place.
Yeah. Yeah. And so losing everything. And I think no churches were spared, right? But like a lot of, schools and,
A lot of places that had like parking lots around it and good defensible space were safe. Not a lot. I shouldn't say a lot
Yeah.
because, the majority of the town did perish.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Most of the churches were spared, though.
Yeah.
My church was spared. St. Thomas. They're on Elliott.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
It was okay, and a lot of the other churches were okay.
Yeah.
Now you're right. It was mostly the smaller ones that had a lot of trees and were basically in the middle of the forest. Didn't have a whole lot of defensible space.
Right. Makes sense.
Right.
So from the time you guys got to safety and all that, what time was that to the time that you got a full head count of everybody? How long did it take you guys to? All right, everybody's here.
Yeah.
I think 5:30, 6 o'clock. I was the last one to get there. By then, we were having some self-service down in Chico. And so I heard from my son Vince and his wife. And then Tyler and I don't know, at some point I talked to my sister. She says she talked to me. I don't remember, but,
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say for me, probably, about 7, 8 o'clock in the evening.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
What did it look like?
In fact, I don't even know if I knew that everybody, all of my loved ones, friends and family were completely out until probably the next morning.
Wow.
So what did it look like? Like when you guys got to Chico, was it like the parking lots were filled with people? Was it tents, mobile, like what did that look like? Because you have close to 50,000 people that left. Yeah.
They were opening up shelters, churches were opening up their doors, some of them. Mm-hmm. They were using their parking lots for people to bring in their trailers, their RVs, their tents, whatever they could.
Yeah.
People were just spread out all over Butte County. Wow. And the nice thing is you could really see a community come together,
mm-hmm.
I mean, if you want to, get a silver lining out of a disaster, that was something that was nice to see, was the community coming together, to make sure that people had at least temporary accommodations,
Right. Man, so whatever you had on your back or whatever you can grab real quick, that's all you had. And then you guys
that's all I had because, I was in my work truck. I literally had my work clothes on,
mm-hmm.
my work boots, and I had a pair of tennis shoes behind the seat of my truck.
And that's it.
And that's all I had,
Oh, man.
Wow. And that was just a normal, regular day. So then the next day you got to be like, well, now what? Do I go to work? I mean.
Well, no. Yeah, absolutely. And, one of the first things I did was I went to Target and got socks and underwear and toiletries.
Oh, yeah.
And then I ended up going to like Goodwill.
Mm-hmm.
But
you and probably everybody else too. I mean, everybody else is kind of feeling the same thing. So I imagine there must have been like an influx of like empty shelves. Like we thought COVID was bad with toilet paper and whatnot missing. It's like, I imagine all that kind of stuff was gone. Because everybody else is feeling the same thing.
The Red Cross and FEMA and everybody jumped in right away.
Yeah.
They set up places where you could get clothing. All of the, we stayed at the Residence Inn, and a lot of the downtown restaurants brought food to the hotel
mm-hmm.
2 or 3 nights a week,
Yeah.
And then the hotel gave you food a couple of nights a week. So everybody was really trying to help out a lot.
And did you guys have to pay for the hotel, or was that something that they all gave for free?
No, I had to pay.
Yeah. I initially had to pay, for the first couple of nights, but my renter's insurance, Allstate, they paid out pretty quickly and took care of me, and they put me in a hotel, for the next, I want to say, 45 days.
Wow.
45 days. Wow. And then could you guys get back up the hill? Like when were you guys able to go check on your things if you had to leave animals? When could you guys go back home?
It was about what, two weeks, close to 2 weeks after the fire, Carol?
Yeah. It was right around beginning of December, maybe.
Yeah. So it was closer to a month, huh? Maybe 3 weeks?
Yeah. Something like that.
Yeah. Because the fire happened on November 8th, 2018. So it was I know that I take that back. We were able to go because my sister and her husband's house made it up off Poodlink, basically in Upper Magalia.
Mm-hmm.
And we were able to go up there for Thanksgiving.
Wow.
Okay.
and spend Thanksgiving with them. So it must have been, they must have opened everything. Well, in fact, I take that back. I think we might have had to go up top. I think they just opened it up for residents somewhere around then because or shortly after that, I think, Carol, I think you're right. Maybe it was closer to, the first part of December because I remember being with my brother-in-law and, we got in his truck, we're driving around town kind of checking things out, which they didn't want us doing.
Right.
We could have probably, maybe gotten a little trouble for that, but.
Yeah. So when you guys.
But we had to check it out anyways.
Because Mark and Stacy were renters, they couldn't go up there. But since they were with me, they let them go up with me because I had, the ID where that I was a homeowner or whatever.
So when you guys did go up there, did you guys try and I know already the answer to some of this from my mom, but what did you guys, when you went and looked, what did you guys find of your belongings or anything that, was left after the fire? Either one, go first or whatever.
So sorry, Carol. Go ahead. Sorry.
I didn't find very much. We found a few little coins that I had collected coins, and so we found those. Mm-hmm. And a lot of them I was able to clean up, Mm-hmm. And Mark found on my property, he dug around in Jim and my husband Jim and my mom's ashes urns were lost in the fire. Mm-hmm. And so Mark found 3 of the little vials that had my mom's ashes in it. Mm-hmm. And then we found a little cup or something, just very little,
Yeah.
Nothing much.
Wow.
Yeah.
How about you, Brian? What kind of stuff did you find, if anything?
Well, there was nothing left of my property and nothing left of my house.
Wow.
Me and my son went up there, shortly after and kind of dug through the ruins. Didn't find anything really significant,
Man.
There was some remnants of some old dishes and stuff like that. Some the metal frames of the beds and, you go out in the garage, there's a stack of steel weights and some, things like that and some tools that were burnt up. So nothing really worth salvaging.
Right. Man, I can't imagine. Yeah, so then when it is, go ahead. Sorry. True. Yeah, go for it.
Well, I was just going to say, going back up there and seeing it for the first time, I kind of thought in my head is this isn't what it must look like, after an atomic bomb goes off in an area.
Wow.
Of course, I've never experienced that, thankfully, but yeah. That's kind of what I thought. It looked like a war zone.
That's crazy. So, after you guys have, been in the hotel for 3-4 weeks and all that, what kind of resources were there to help you get back on your feet? Was there anything did they do anything to help you?
Yeah, there was, different charities, one in particular that I can remember is the Tzu Chi Recovery. They're an organization, I guess they're a Chinese-based organization. Mm-hmm. That was, they were really helpful. They were handing out checks to people, they were handing out care packages and things like that. So that was really helpful. And I think they were based there, at the Chico Mall in an empty old building there. So
very cool. How about you, Mom?
I got the loan from SBA to get into my place at 2% interest rate. Mm-hmm. And like I said, FEMA helped out a lot. And there were Red Cross and, just a lot of different places that were trying to help you.
Yeah.
If you lost all of your IDs or your licenses for your vehicles or whatever, everything was set up in the mall where it's good. They were getting everything printed for you then.
Yeah. So it was like a hub. I remember going there with James and helping and
and that was really helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that, I'm sorry, Carol, that recovery center you're talking about there in the mall, that FEMA recovery center, like I said, that's where the Tzu Chi Recovery Service Center, they were, them and other entities were handing out, prepaid, cards, credit cards.
Yeah.
Care packages, things like that. So, I thought the response, like I said, from the community, these outside recovery service agencies, FEMA, I was actually quite impressed with, how quickly that they were there to help us through this.
Right. Yeah. So, you mentioned FEMA. I don't even know if this is on our questions, but all the stuff that they were passing out, did you guys have to pay them back, or like if they okay. So because I thought that I had heard somewhere that maybe, I don't know if it was loans or if you guys got what it was that you did end up having to pay it back, or something with interest or something like that. Maybe I misunderstood.
I can't speak for the loans because I did not get any loans myself. So that's something your mom, Carol's going to have to answer.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Ma.
Yeah, the SBA loan is you have to pay it back over a period of time. So I make payments to them monthly.
Okay.
FEMA, they give you a chunk of money, but then it was paid back out of my lawsuit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do people still talk about the fires?
Well, yeah, of course. so some people live there, if you know what I mean.
Oh.
Yeah.
So that's kind of their identity now, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, the way this lawsuit went down, and how we've been paid out in small increments, a lot of these people that really needed, like a lump sum, a big lump sum. So some of them are still out there living in trailers, and they're never going to fully recover just by the way this whole lawsuit was handled, and
right.
And we still haven't been paid out in full, and I don't know if we ever will get paid out in full, to be honest with you.
Yeah, because I suppose with PG&E they can't pull all of the money because that will crash the stocks, right? The stock market.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Actually,
yes.
PG&E already paid it off. It's the attorneys who are holding it up. PG&E was going to file bankruptcy, and to keep them from filing bankruptcy, the attorneys agreed on partial cash, partial stock.
Right. It ended up being like 50-50, right?
A little bit less than 50-50, but anyway, so that let PG&E off the hook. But the attorneys that, were taking their time on selling the stock, some of it they sold too soon, so they weren't having enough money to pay people off. So they've been dragging their feet.
That's right. And you are correct because, the finances were initially handled by a fire victims trust.
Okay.
They had the head of a trust. They had a board, everybody who was, deciding, I guess, how the money was going to be doled out and how to handle it. Is that correct, Carol?
Yeah.
And and you are correct that they couldn't just very well sell off, obviously the price of the stock dropped drastically after the fire because this wasn't the only fire in this area that PG&E was responsible for.
Wow.
So yeah, so with that said, if the victims trust and the lawyers they couldn't just sell off all the stock at once because yes, it would have created a huge issue in the stock market.
Right.
Besides, I think that there's some legality to that. I'm not a big stock guy, so
right.
I
imagine too that
dump stock or something like that.
Right. You can't dump all that stock at one time.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I think they could sell it like every 3 months or something like that. Is what it worked out to be. But then it was so low, you didn't want to sell it that low because, you settled for $12.5 billion, I think it was.
I think it was 13.5, but yeah.
13.5?
Yeah. Okay. What's $1 billion to PG&E,
Right. So you got to make sure that stock and what cash you got is going to add up to at least that much to pay your people who got who lost everything.
And Carol, do you feel like maybe that these lawyers and the Fire Victims Trust, with these awards they were given out at first, they may have been given out too much to too few?
I think so.
Yeah. In other words, that they were given too, like, what am I trying to say here?
I know they gave a lot of people, they gave them the full amount what they were owed in the very beginning.
Right, exactly.
That's what I had heard from other people.
Yeah.
And so then, and they had made mistakes on their trying to figure things out, and they had to buy several programs to change it up. They paid their employees for the Fish couldn't trust big amounts of money. They had a judge on there who was making a big amount of money. And so there's all kinds of stuff that probably went wrong.
So,
certainly, and I get that's a hard thing to determine. Is how much is this really worth, and then how much can PG&E actually pay out after they take care of their stockholders and the executive, the bigwig that retired ended up with something. What was it, like a $14-15 million golden parachute or some bullshit like that? Excuse my language.
No, it's okay. No, and what I was also going to say is too, like, everybody was like living their own life and doing fine before the fires. And suppose you didn't have debt. Like, I know, like for my mom, she had her house already. So now you go through this. Now you have to buy another house. And so now you're in debt. Plus you have to go buy all your new stuff, forks, clothes, everything. And so it's like you were living your best life or whatever, and now you're in debt because of something, and then you're still not getting paid. So I feel like a lot of people are worse off now than before, because like I know for like a lot of people, like like my brothers and stuff, and the other brothers, buying like all the stuff that they lost, motorcycles, cars, say you had an RV, stuff like that, and say it was already paid off. Yeah, you probably got a lump sum, but I feel like maybe people could be in debt now because of this, or worse off because of this too. I don't know.
Yeah, because before the fire, insurance wasn't that expensive up on the hill, and now they're paying a fortune just for their fire insurance.
Wow.
That's right.
I lived in a smaller place up there, because I wasn't paying as much taxes or insurance or this and that, and now it's quite a bit more down here. But and it's fine. I'm fine.
How about that for you, Brian? Is insurance quite a bit higher up there?
Yeah, well, obviously I was renting before the fire.
Mm-hmm.
And again, luckily I had renter's insurance, and that really helped out. But yeah, once I got into a place that, 1,600 square foot, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, I was paying for the first couple of years, I was paying about, 12 to 1,300 a year for my insurance.
Okay.
And that covered fire and everything, right?
Yeah.
Well, then as these insurance companies started, it basically blew the area. They weren't covering anybody up, especially the major ones. They weren't covering anybody up here in this area anymore.
Wow. They probably lost so much in the fires, right? So then they had to jack up premiums to account for it. Otherwise, they were going to go.
And then they had to pay out so much, because of the fires. Man. So, and of course, well, like everything else, it's insurance. It's not a charity.
No, they pass it on to the little guys. I mean, I know the states that just got hit by the monsoons or the hurricanes and stuff. I know that some of those places, they're not the big ones. Maybe I'm not going to say them just so they don't come back. Yeah.
My insurance now, since I was able to get insurance through a smaller company via my Allstate agent. Mm-hmm. They found it for me. So for the first couple of years, it was affordable.
Yeah.
Well, for the last about 3.5 years, almost 4 years now, my insurance is having to be supplemented through what they call the Cal Fair plan. So basically, you're insured through the state of California. Well, that pretty much that jacked up my insurance. That pretty much quadrupled my insurance rate. Wow. My annual insurance rate.
How do you even do that? I mean, is it just like, is it even worth staying up there? I mean, you said $1,300 or so a year. So now you're talking something close to $4,000 in.
We're talking over 4,000. Yeah. Like I said, it quadrupled for me.
Sheesh.
So yeah, I went from about 1,300 to, I think I'm paying 47 a year now.
Wow.
And that's because of the fires?
Absolutely. Because of the fires.
Why do you stay? I mean, I know, but tell everybody else. Why do you stay?
Well, because which is in my mind, I feel like they're not thinking straight, because now there's a bunch of defensible space up here. The fire's already blown through,
right,
and burned up, the majority of the fuel in this area,
right.
But being that they had to pay out so much with all these claims, and like I said, insurance is like any other big business. It's not a charity. So once they felt that they started losing money, they bailed the area. So it's it's very difficult to get insurance up here. like I say, you have to go through the Cal Fair plan now, which is anything but fair.
Yeah.
You know, it's supplemented through the state of California. But yeah, no, it's definitely because of the fires. And now, like I say, they claim that it's too much of a risk to insure people up here.
Which, like you said, the whole town, I mean, when we were there, it's like 50-50. It seems like a lot of the town is like, you know, standing, but there's still so many empty. So it's like, it's likely if a fire does come, it's already been cleared out and all that. It's never going to devastate it. So like, why not just help people out and not jack up the prices? It seems pretty
well. And of course, you know, the bean counters, they don't think in those terms.
No. Well, because they probably lost so much money on paying people out. So now they're like, well, we got to recoup our costs. But how are people going to come back to that area? How will people want to even live there if they're like, once you call your agent, your Allstate, and they go, oh, okay, that's your zip code. Yeah, this is what you're going to pay. How are people even going to want to live there in that regard?
Well,
like you know,
most people that lived up here before have moved out of the area. They moved on. Because a lot of these people were retired and older. Yeah. And they didn't want to wait, you know, 10, 15 years or however long it's going to take for this place to fully recover.
Yeah. Because even after all these years, like, you know, I went a couple weeks after it happened and saw the devastation. I've been back a couple times since. It's crazy how after you're about ready on the 6-year anniversary, right? Next week. How it's still
coming up next week. Yeah.
Yeah. It still looks like, I mean, to see all the emptiness and stuff like that.
You still see lots burnt, trees still got the burn marks.
Yeah, like why not clear that down? It's surprising that they haven't cleared and done more in the 6 years since.
No, absolutely. PG&E should have been held accountable to get every burnt up dead tree the hell out of here.
Yeah,
I can't imagine.
In my mind.
What a constant reminder if you are up there to actually see that and be like, yep, this was home. And now look at it. Looks just like.
When we were up there, we'd see houses, people that just moved in, and we'd look in their backyard and there's still a burnt tree.
Well, and my dad just moved up to Magalia. And yeah, he's got.
And the first thing I asked Carrie, I was like, I cannot believe that they didn't cut down that tree.
Right.
Because, I mean, that's not a living tree anymore. That thing's liable still to fall down on your new house.
Yeah.
You bet, Justin. You know, they still have, you know, contractors coming out here, you know, through PG&E, marking trees in people's yards and still, you know, hey, we'll be there in you know, a few months to take these out. Well, 6 months, a year goes by. We still got these trees that are either scarred or completely dead that, you know, have a little white or green or whatever dot on them, you know, and they still haven't been taken out.
Well, and if that falls on somebody's house or their fence or something, then who is liable for that then?
Yeah.
The landowner, I suppose.
Yeah, some bullshit. Does it feel?
No, totally.
Yeah.
So, and while I have this thought, guys, I just want to add to the fact that so how, you know, housing in neighborhoods are starting to come back, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But you have these wealthier investors and these corporate investors that are invested in these burned out lots, and they're building these, you know, $500, $600, $700, $800 million homes here.
Wow.
Well, this demographic it's not the richest demographic, you know, in California.
Right.
You know, these are working class to poor people.
Right.
And even if some of those people wanted to come back, they couldn't freaking afford to come back and pay the prices that they're asking for these homes today.
They've been outpriced of their own
neighbors. Yeah, absolutely.
Man.
All right. Well, with that being said, since you've been back and you're slowly coming back into the community, do you think the town feels better or worse?
Carol?
To me,
well, I know you're in Chico, but
yeah. And so it feels worse. I hate to go up to Paradise. I get so depressed when I go up there, you know, but it's just because of what I went through the day of the fire, I think.
Yeah.
And I have all that crappy memories, you know.
Right.
Yeah. Cause I think, Mom, you said that you don't even like the smell of barbecue. Barbecue.
No, I don't. And I've been at the gas station and I'll hear a fire truck go by and I'll have a panic attack. And I didn't see that many fire trucks the day of the fire, but I still have these panic attacks. And so I just learned, you know, to breathe through it. You know, it'll pass in a few minutes, you know, or going down past Neil Road or whatever. And I had a panic attack going to Orville one day. And I haven't been back down there for over a year now. You know. I'm not going to do it. If I have a panic attack, I just stay home.
Right.
Stay around here where I don't, have all the memories and stuff.
How's it feel for you, Bryan? Does it feel like a normal?
Unlike Carol, I didn't have to escape the fire.
Right.
I just have, friends and family's accounts of what happened.
Right.
But for me, it's definitely different, especially with, losing your whole community basically, and then it having to be rebuilt slowly. And a lot of friends and family that were up here are no longer up here, and a lot, and so that's something that we have to deal with on a daily basis. But it's also, I guess, kind of disappointing, to be honest with you, because I was thinking, okay, maybe this town will come back, even better than before.
Yeah.
You're never going to replace what was here before.
Right.
Right.
You're never going to replace this community. You're never going to bring back those people that perished in the fire.
No.
Like I said, friends and family are scattered everywhere now. And not only all over the state, but all over the country too. But for me, the most disappointing thing, like I alluded to earlier, was the fact that all these wealthy investors are snapping up these lots and putting these overpriced homes here.
Yeah.
So it's basically at a certain point going to change the demographic in Paradise.
Yeah, because it was always like, I live there, so I totally get that. But and when people move and stuff, you get a chance to we just lost some of our neighbors, and we were able to give the little boys hugs and bye, we'll see you soon and whatever. But for you guys, it was so fast, it was so abrupt that people just left, and it's you don't get a chance to say your goodbyes and whatever. It's just okay, and almost no closure, almost.
Yeah, no, but for me being up here, it's, I guess I don't know if I feel the need for closure. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just feel the need to move on and get past this.
What do you think is going to help you to get past it?
You want an honest answer here?
Go for it. No, tell us.
Okay. Well, no, what it's going to take for me truly is for one thing is to stop dwelling on it.
Okay.
And I realize that I'm in a much better position because I did have renter's insurance. I did have a good job that was out of town,
Yeah.
But no, it's just, and another thing too is, getting rid of all the old remnants, the reminders of the fire.
Mm.
And I realize eventually that will happen. But, I'd like to see these neighborhoods come back. I would like to see commerce come back to this area.
Yeah.
And PG&E and contractors are working to make the equipment safer. They're putting a lot of the lines underground, and that's another thing that would kind of help me feel better about this is knowing that the equipment that actually started this fire is much safer.
Right.
Is it ever going to be 100% safe? No.
Right.
And to make sure that the Department of Forestry, make sure that there's defensible space around these mountain communities.
Right.
Yeah. You had mentioned a little bit about with jobs and stuff, and this is another question. So what did the fires take away? I mean, I know there's the big grocery store. When we interviewed Mark, my little brother, the other day, he said there's literally one fast food. So what are some things, and this is probably more for Bryan because you live up there. What are some things that are now gone that were there beside things I just mentioned?
Well, even the hospital, Mark was saying the hospital isn't fully up and going.
I don't think it's working anymore. There's nobody there.
Yeah. The hospital, and I don't even know if they'll ever bring that back. I mean, I would imagine if we get back to the same capacity at 50,000 plus up here, on the ridge itself, then yeah, we might get a hospital, but we do have the Feather River Clinic on the lower Skyway.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But if you need, if it's an emergency situation, you got to be, transported down to Chico.
Right. Chico or Orville. Yeah.
Or Orville. Right. Exactly.
Right.
One of the surrounding
so a
cities
hospital,
here. The hospitals, and we're getting more grocery stores back, but
okay.
Grocery stores are one thing.
Yeah.
Just and like Mark had alluded to, fast food and restaurants,
Yeah.
We have to pretty much go down to Chico to get any sort of real choice.
What about schools? Because I know, about schools and stuff.
Well, yeah, my grandchildren, they were going to Paradise Elementary at the time.
Uh-huh.
And that's in lower Paradise. That was lost.
I didn't.
High school.
Wow.
The high school was, I believe, I know Ridgeview, the continuation high school in Magalia, that was completely lost. So we were left with one elementary school in town. The high school, I believe it might have had some damage to it. I can't recall, but they've since, rebuilt that, put a lot of money into the high school. The junior high has been renovated, which it's very nice now.
Mm-hmm. I know Aaron Rodgers seemed to help out too. Excuse me. We had heard that. He'd helped. I guess he'd lived in the area. I knew he lived in some part of Butte County before, but so that's cool. That big names, and I know Ron Howard soon after the fires, he was up there, and I think made that documentary. And now there's my mom was mentioning a new movie that's some Matthew McConaughey and Jamie Lee Curtis. So there's some big names that are coming, hopefully, to help and give you guys like resources and money to hopefully rebuild it. So the town and the community are like better than ever. Hopefully you guys see that.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully, that would be a perfect scenario, but again, it's going to be a slow process, and it is a slow process.
Yeah.
Like I say, and as far as, let's go back to schools. I know that parts of Magalia did burn, mm-hmm. but at one time, after the fire, the population in Magalia was greater than what was left in Paradise.
Wow!
And it's a much smaller, little town than Paradise was.
Right.
And it is. I mean, Paradise now has more of a population than Magalia, but there were 2 elementary schools left up here in Magalia.
Wow. So what about the one, I know my little brother used to go to that intermediate one right there, kind of, is that one, the one that you talked about that was lost? Right there by where Foster's Freeze and all that?
Oh, yeah, the junior high school there?
Well, I thought it was I think it used to be called Paradise Intermediate. There was like the aquatic park and all that was right there. I guess maybe,
right, well, that's where the old elementary school was, which was completely burned down.
Oh, okay.
And then the junior high school was pretty much adjacent to the elementary school. And the junior high school made it through.
Oh, interesting.
Or the middle school or whatever it was at the time. It's back to being a junior high, just 7th and 8th grade.
Okay.
Because since the population has decreased so much after the fire, they don't need to accommodate as many kids as they did before, obviously.
Yeah. Man.
So I didn't ask Mark this, and this isn't on our questions, but it just kind of popped into my head because I realized the timeline. The fires happened, like you said, November 8th, 2018. So as you were getting back onto your feet and you were just about getting things going again, and this just popped in my head on what happened in this world. COVID.
Oh, yeah.
How did that affect everything? I mean, you're just about to get up and running, and now all of a sudden the government shuts down again because of COVID. So did that affect anything?
Well, for me, financially, of course, it affected everybody.
Right.
The supply shortage, the global economic crisis that followed. But for me, being that I was considered an essential worker, working at a wastewater treatment plant, and the plant being out of town, I still had steady income. So I was better off than a lot of people were, at that point.
Yeah. Mom, anything to add to that? You're semi-retired. You're still working, but
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, we lost a few accounts because not wanting to contaminate our people working.
Right.
But we had to still keep some places that were considered essential workers.
Right.
So, but it did affect my pocket, you know.
Yeah.
Did
you
it
just learn, tighten it up, and you're fine.
Yeah.
did it slow down like any kind of like financial help or anything like that?
Like after COVID
Yeah,
happened.
After COVID and all that?
Yeah.
It did, but we had, like I was making a car payment. You didn't have to make car payments for a certain length of time. You didn't have to make your SBA loan payments, and they just give you, some time,
some
where you didn't
leeway.
have to make
Some
payments.
leeway. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but as to apply for the PPS loans or any of that stuff, I didn't do any of that stuff. I thought I can manage it, and I did, like I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is more for Brian, being that he lives up there, but do you worry that the fire might happen again? Or a fire like that might happen again? Or do you feel like it's a pretty safe place?
Well, I mean, it's always somewhere in the back of our minds, right?
Yep.
But no, I don't really. I don't let that affect,
Your
me
day, yeah.
going forward, or I don't let it get to me like that. I can't. I can't live up here in fear of it happening again.
No.
So
Yeah.
Do you feel like they've figured a better way? This was on our questions too. Was is to evacuate? Like, could they have maybe evacuated better, or do you think that like if this were to ever happen again, that they have a better chain of action, if you will?
Well, they definitely could have done a better job, evacuating before. And we had many close calls before, in the years that I've been up here, but nothing obviously ever really touched the town itself, and so we weren't really thinking in terms if something came through, we might lose part of it. We never thought it would be full devastation.
Right.
But yes, they have now, implemented evacuation routes.
Okay.
They put in an emergency system, with actual alarms around town.
Okay.
That sound off, sirens around town that sound off, if we're in danger of, any sort of natural disaster.
Well, we're in the Midwest, so we have tornado warnings now. We hear that.
Right.
Yeah.
We didn't really get tornado warnings, but, but mostly, wildfires.
Yeah.
Since we're susceptible to that.
Yes.
But yeah, I think they're trying to.
Okay.
They're working on it, and, we'll never know until, hopefully it doesn't happen again, but we'll never know until that time comes.
Yeah.
If it ever comes again.
Hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully it doesn't.
Right.
Yep.
Okay. I think we're coming to the end of this. I appreciate everything you guys have said and coming on and talking about this. But my last question is something I kind of ask everybody. What advice would you give to someone that would go through this situation?
Carol, you want to go first?
I have no idea. I mean, other than to try and stay calm as you can,
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And be prepared.
Yeah.
The best you can.
Keep a bag packed,
Absolutely.
Yep. That's what Mark said too.
Yeah.
Keep a bag packed.
And keep all your important documents easily accessible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have a plan for, family keepsakes, have them ready to go. Any important pictures. I know we keep a lot of things, digitally stored now, but a lot of people still have, regular good old photos and stuff like that up on their walls, and things that can't be replaced, certain things like that, family heirlooms, I lost, Carol after Dad died had given me Dad's wedding ring. And a nice necklace with a surfboard pennant on it, sterling silver necklace with a pennant on it.
Yeah.
And I lost all that in the fire. Of course, I never got the opportunity to come up and try to, save anything that I thought was important.
Right. Man, I can't imagine. But thank you. Like Justin said, thank you guys so much for doing this. And hopefully it never happens again. But for people out there that are listening, they can, at least because, what we saw over here, like any news, what did they say? It's only good news. I forgot the saying, but something like, we were getting a lot of it, but I think they stopped doing it as more news comes in. So, you guys were living it. So we were just over here like, what's happening? Oh, there's new news. So,
and it's always like that with these big disasters or tragedies, right?
Yeah.
It catches the nation's attention for a short period of time until the next one occurs or it dies down. It's very easy for us here, on the West Coast where we have earthquake and fire danger, right?
Yeah.
Right.
To look back at the East Coast, when they're going through their hurricanes or tornadoes in the Midwest, it's something you're like, wow, that really sucks. I feel for these people and I hope they make it out okay.
Yeah.
But then you just, you
go about your day.
You don't really think about it.
Right.
Yeah, you just go back to your life and carry on. But when you live it, it's definitely, it's real, and it's, but it's something, I don't know, for me, it has made me, grateful for what I have, and, and I'm glad that everybody made it out, safely and relatively unharmed, at least on in a physical sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, guys.
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming on and talking about this, especially a sensitive subject like this and everything you guys went through. I appreciate it. This was great and entertaining and very informative. Welcome to Confessions with the Cougar and the Cub. This is your host, Justin Vandeventer.
And I am the better half of this podcast, Carrie, the Cougar Lazzarino.
This podcast, we are going to give you the male and female perspective on everyday issues and relationship problems.
And I'll give you the right answer from real ladies just like myself, a true badass.
And I'll try to translate to you cavemen out there that don't quite understand women yet.
So let's dive in.
And enjoy this episode with the Cougar and the Cub. Welcome back to Confessions with the Cougar and the Cub. This is Justin Vandeventer, the cub of this relationship, and with me is the better looking part of this podcast.
It's Carrie. How y'all been?
Hey, babe.
Hey. I love when I think I've said this before, but I love when you do our intro and you like legit do it like where you can't even breathe. Like, you're like, how much can I say before my breath goes? Blah, blah, blah. It's so funny. You're so cute.
You know what I get? You know what people keep telling me?
What?
They go, I feel like you're doing a pause because you have to think about what podcast you're on.
Maybe. Yeah, because you're on that other one, the stupidest podcast that comes out every other Monday with that other guy, Roddy Rademacher.
Yeah. So we have another amazing interview.
Yeah. Yeah. We got so much great feedback from the podcast the episode that we had on with my little brother, Mark, about the California campfires from back in 2018, the fires that destroyed much of Paradise and Magalia. We had to have my other brother and my mom on. So yeah, we're kind of excited.
I definitely think we hit some new topics and all that in this one. And we added a few different questions.
Yep. Yeah.
So
yeah.
With that being said, should we get into this?
Yeah, let's get into it. Let's start the podcast.
Let's start the podcast. So here is the interview with your mom and brother.
Yeah. Enjoy. Wow. I cannot believe I learned so much more than I really knew from the fires.
It's crazy, especially with these two, because it was two totally different situations. Your mom was coming out of the fire.
Yep.
And Brian was
essentially trying to get his family out. And yeah, so his was a lot like kind of how my other brother's was, but it was really awesome to hear both sides and
what was going on and what they had to go through.
Yeah, and what's happened since. Yeah, it's crazy. It's wild. I hope everybody has enjoyed and learned a lot about this. We're getting ready, or they are getting ready to come in on the 6-year anniversary. November 8th is the anniversary of when the unfortunate campfire happened in Paradise and Magalia.
It's crazy. It's been 6 years and you still hear people are still going through.
Yeah.
And trying to fight this and battle this and get out of financial situations from this.
Yeah. Yeah. And the community still hasn't, as when we were there recently, we saw that the community still hasn't fully recovered from it. There's still empty lots and empty buildings like grocery stores and fast food places. So after this many years that it still hasn't, become a fully functioning community again. Yeah.
And as you heard us say at the end, like, you hear about these things that are going on and you're like, oh man, that's terrible. And it hits you.
Yeah.
But then, it leaves the news and you're like, all right, we go on with our day.
Yeah.
You don't realize that these people are still living it and still going through it years and years after.
Yeah. Yeah. Whereas we're all just going through and it's like old news maybe to us, but to them it's still right there. Mm-hmm. It's wild. But I'm grateful that, my family and their extended families and whatnot came out. And it sounds like, gosh, that was crazy too, that my brother said that somebody he knew passed too.
Yeah, he knew a couple people.
Yeah, that's crazy. I can't imagine that. I mean, I love my home and I love my personal belongings, but if I knew that this huge fire and they said it sounded like a train, if I knew that was coming, I would be like, fuck it. In a bucket. I would be, I would bounce. I don't think I would let my life.
There's no,
go.
I mean, to me, there's no object that is worth more than your life and your loved ones.
Right.
You can lose everything and it will suck and it will hurt and it will be painful, but as long as you guys are together.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's time to rebuild.
But anyway, it was a great interview. Thankful that we had them on, and now we're going to lighten it up. And one of our loyal listeners,
our diehard listeners. What's up, Mikey? I hear you. I know you're listening.
Let's give a shout out to Mikey. Kidding, Mikey. You better be laughing right now.
Yeah.
Bull. Kidding.
So he's told us that in the last couple, that we keep forgetting to give our pickup lines to end the show.
Of course,
and
he has to remember that.
It,
right? He's busting our chops here.
If there's something always missing in the story, he lets us know.
Oh yeah. Thanks, Mikey. All right.
So do you have one?
Yeah, it's a good one. As I'm crunching on some oyster crackers. Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna say it to you. Okay.
Okay.
What's your name? Because I'll be screaming it all night long.
That's a good one.
Ow.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah. I'm the dirty one of the relationship.
This one's really good. The one that I found.
Oh, for real?
For real. I should have had this one back in the day. It might have worked.
On who? Me or somebody else?
Anybody.
Motherfucker. Who? On who?
On
who
you.
is she?
You and only you.
Okay. All right, go.
On a scale 1 to 10, you were definitely a 10. But I am the one you need. It's good. Come on, that's good.
That is terrible. That's a dad joke. Can you say it again? Because I did not get that.
On a scale 1 to 10, you're definitely a 10. But I am the one you need.
Womp womp womp.
God,
Can we have the like the buzzer?
Can I?
Yes. All right. Can you off the cuff? Can you find another one? Find a better one.
What was wrong with that one? I
Lame.
thought that was a
Stupid.
great one.
Not good. Come on.
Perfect.
You know what though? Since Mikey did say that we forgot 2, let's quick find another one. Oh, I got a good one. But I'll let you go first. You got one? Okay, actually, I got a good one. Hey, tie your shoes. I don't want you falling for anyone else.
If I were a cat, I'd spend all night lives with you.
Sorry.
Is your father a terrorist? Because you look bomb.
Your eyes look fucking scary. Okay. Anything else?
What's that?
Oh, never mind. Oh, wait, here's a funny one. My doctor told me I have a vitamin D deficiency. Want to go back to my place and save me?
Nah.
Damn, boy.
Damn, girl. Is your name Wi-Fi? Because I'm feeling a connection.
Do
you drink Pepsi? Because you're so delicious.
Ugh, Yours aren't that good. Let me think. Okay, how about this? Want to give me an Australian kiss? It's like French kissing, but you're doing it down under. That's good. That's so good.
I think you look up dirty pickup lines.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking up funny pickup lines.
No, I'm the dirty one. Remember, like, okay, I'm the cougar. Yeah. You're the cub. Okay. So,
makes sense.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, wait, here's another. Wait.
All right, last one.
Okay.
Last one.
Are you a taxidermist? Okay, want to try stuffing my kitty anyway?
Oh, jeez.
That's good. That's good. There you go, Mikey. You're welcome.
We caught you back up, Mike.
There it is.
We gave you a couple extra to make up for the ones we missed.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
All right.
I hope you guys enjoyed this episode because I certainly did. I was sitting back here just learning.
Yeah, it was really good.
It was crazy. I can't imagine what everybody was going through and feeling, but man, it makes you kind of feel it a little bit. Absolutely.
Thanks for allowing me to have my family on. I know I don't know. It's old news to some people, but, talking with my family, they still feel it, especially like my mom, she has that PTSD that, she's from the old school. She's probably not going to go and see a therapist like, many might, but, having the worry of, just like for her, like saying like smelling barbecue, like something like, oh my God, if I smell barbecue.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that. And I'm like, wow, that's crazy.
Or hearing sirens and whatnot, that scares her. So,
and we definitely kind of saw it a little bit when we were there because remember that day it was a little smoke. She's like, it's smoky out there. I don't want to. She didn't want to leave the house,
and she didn't go. She didn't go with us up there. She rarely goes up the hill, just because I think of what she saw that day. So, hopefully, you guys all felt what she was saying and what Brian was saying and enjoyed it. And just with that said,
well, we're not ending yet.
Oh, we're not ending yet.
Go. Like, share, comment on everything that you guys listen.
Oh, yeah.
Wherever you're listening at, it helps the podcast out.
Yep.
Go check out the website. Do you know what the website is right off the top of your head?
Jesus. No, but I can find it.
Oh, you don't, do you?
No. Well,
www.confessionswiththecougarandthecub.com.
You got us on the .com. And there you can see all of our recent episodes. We're also on Spotify and everything. We still don't know what the heck's going up with Apple.
Yeah.
I really would like to figure that out.
I'm hoping we get big enough to where they reach out to us.
I know. Yeah.
So.
Yep. Should we tell them what we got coming up on the next episode?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Well, we're going to talk about our California trip and how we went to, all of my old stomping ground and had
you get to really see Carrie's ADD kick into action in that episode.
Oh, yeah. It's bad.
She bounces around all over. So
like a ping pong.
You get to watch me play the ringling leader.
Yeah.
Trying to keep this thing on track. So.
Yep.
Yeah. Go check out the website. Like and share wherever you see. Check us out on our socials. Give us a follow. Everything. It helps more than you know. The sharing and the comments, keeping everything in the algorithm. We're definitely going to be in the near future looking at getting some merch going. So pay attention and just wait for that. That'll be coming out soon. So
yeah.
We love you guys. Thank you for listening. We love hearing from you guys.
Yeah.
You guys really are the best, and we hope you guys are enjoying this as much as we enjoy doing it.
They should tell us, what else they want to hear, though. That's one thing that, it's not as easy when you... He's coughing up a lung as he got the cigarette in his mouth.
I can't help it. I wish.
You wish you had a cigarette in your mouth?
No, maybe a cigar.
Cigar, yeah. You got to give us, some people, drop us a DM or probably DM, because I think that's easiest, on Instagram or even on our podcast. But
just shoot
let us know what you guys want to hear. Give us some ideas, because,
otherwise you can go to the website as well, and on the website you can connect with us, and it'll send us an email. You can click on there, send us an email.
Yep.
Maybe you guys know somebody, or you are somebody that's went through something tragic, and you want to share your story.
Or you got a cool job.
Or if you have a really unique job or something like that, that'd be cool too.
Yeah.
We're open, so reach out.
We're just trying to make this podcast about you and what we would want to hear, but we also need feedback. So, give us yours. So with that said, peace out, Scout.
Catch you guys later. Bye.